The race session is at circuit of Silverstone in Silverstone, Great Britain. ReneRmotorsport from Netherlands is first. Hein van Niekerk from South Africa is P2. Quinten Kasselman from South Africa is third. Neil Hancock is P4. Ian Weeks from United Kingdom is P5. Rene Robertson is P6 with 80 kilos. John Astrop from New Zealand is P7 with 20 kilos. David Kelsall is P8 with 40 kilos. David Forsyth from Ireland is P9 with 10 kilos. Brian Patterson is P10 with 100 kilos. Mark Scott from Norway is P11. Richard Ogden is 12. ReneRmotorsport is first. "30 minutes remaining in the session. Race start. John Astrop is third. John Astrop is now P7. John Astrop is now P6. Ian Weeks is 7th. Brian Patterson is P9. David Forsyth in Aintree Corner is 11th. Hein van Niekerk in Brooklands Corner is 2nd. John Astrop is P4. Mark Scott is P7. Mark Scott is now 8th. Richard Ogden is P10. David Forsyth in Beckett's Corner is P11 with 10 kilos, 0.4 behind Richard Ogden. John Astrop in Hanger Straight is 4th with 20 kilos, 0.2 behind Rene Robertson. Quinten Kasselman from South Africa in Vale is 5th, 0.4 behind John Astrop. Ian Weeks in Club Corner is 7th, 0.2 behind Neil Hancock. Mark Scott is P9, 0.1 behind Brian Patterson. David Forsyth in Village Corner on lap 2 is P10, 0.5 behind Mark Scott. Quinton Castleman in Aintree Corner is 4th, 0.4 behind Rene Robertson. Mark Scott is P9, 0.4 behind Brian Patterson. David Forsyth in Luffield Corner is P10, 0.4 behind Mark Scott. Richard Ogden in National Pit Straight is P11, 0.4 behind David Forsyth. John Astrop in Maggots Corner is 5th, 0.1 behind Quinton Castleman. Neil Hancock in Chapel Corner is 5th, 0.2 behind John Astrop. "25 minutes remaining in the session. John Astrop in Hanger Straight is 5th battling Neil Hancock. John Astrop lost P5 to Ian Weeks. John Astrop passed Ian Weeks for P5. Ian Weeks in Vale is P5 battling John Astrop. Ian Weeks passed John Astrop for P4. John Astrop in Club Corner is 5th, 0.1 behind Ian Weeks. John Astrop passed Ian Weeks for P4. Ian Weeks in Farm Curve is 5th, 0.2 ahead of Neil Hancock. Quinton Castleman in the Loop is 6th, 0.1 behind Ian Weeks. Quinton Castleman is now P5. Ian Weeks on lap 3 is 7th, 0.3 behind Neil Hancock. Richard Ogden in Brooklands Corner is P11. Best lap is a 2:47.685. 5.648 off the fastest lap. Quinton Castleman in Woodcote Corner is 5th, 0.5 behind John Astrop. John Astrop was 0.9 faster last lap. Mark Scott in Copse Corner is 9th, 0.3 behind Brian Patterson. Richard Ogden in Maggots Corner is P11, 0.5 behind David Forsyth. John Astrop in Chapel Corner is 5th with 20 kilos, 0.2 behind Quinton Castleman. Quinton Castleman in Stowe Corner is 5th, 0.1 behind John Astrop. Quinton Castleman passed John Astrop for 4th. John Astrop from New Zealand in Club Corner is 5th, 0.3 ahead of Neil Hancock. Neil Hancock is 6th, 0.3 behind John Astrop. Ian Weeks in Farm Curve is 6th, 0.1 ahead of John Astrop. Ian Weeks is now P5. David Forsyth in Village Corner is 8th, 0.3 ahead of Mark Scott. Mark Scott in Aintree Corner is 9th, 0.4 behind David Forsyth. John Astrop entering the pits is P1. Brian Patterson in Brooklands Corner is P9, 0.3 behind David Forsyth. Mark Scott in Luffield Corner is 10th, 0.4 behind Brian Patterson. Richard Ogden in National Pit Straight is P11, 0.2 behind Mark Scott. 20 minutes remaining in the session. Richard Ogden is now P12. David Kelsall in Maggots Corner is 10th, 0.2 behind Brian Patterson. Mark Scott in Chapel Corner is 11th, 0.3 ahead of Richard Ogden. Richard Ogden in Hanger Straight is 12th, 0.2 behind Mark Scott. David Kelsall is P10, 0.1 ahead of Mark Scott. Richard Ogden in Club Corner is P12, 0.3 behind Mark Scott. Richard Ogden is now P11. Brian Patterson in Abbey is 9th, 0.1 behind David Kelsall. Mark Scott in Village Corner is P10, 0.4 behind Brian Patterson. Richard Ogden in Aintree Corner is P11, 0.3 behind Mark Scott. Richard Ogden passed Mark Scott for 10th. Mark Scott in Brooklands Corner is 11th, 0.5 behind Richard Ogden. David Kelsall is 9th, 0.4 behind Brian Patterson. Brian Patterson in Copse Corner is P9, 0.2 behind David Kelsall. Mark Scott in Magot's corner is 11th, 0.3 behind Richard Ogden. Brian Patterson in Chapel corner is 9th, 0.1 behind David Kelsall. Quinton Castleman in Vale is 6th, 1.4 behind Ian Weeks. Ian Weeks was 3.5 faster last lap. Brian Patterson is 9th, 1.1 behind David Kelsall. Quinton Castleman from South Africa in the loop is 6th, 1.1 behind Ian Weeks. Brian Patterson in Wellington Straight is 9th, 1.9 behind David Kelsall. 15 minutes remaining in the session. Quinton Castleman from South Africa in National Pit Straight is 6th, 0.5 behind Ian Weeks. Richard Ogden is 10th, 1.5 behind Brian Patterson. Quinton Castleman in Hanger Straight is 6th, 0.1 behind Ian Weeks. Richard Ogden in Stowe corner is P10. Mark Scott in Club corner is 11th, 3.4 behind Richard Ogden. Mark Scott is now P7. Richard Ogden on lap 7 is P6, 1.4 behind Brian Patterson. Rene Robertson exiting pits. Quinton Castleman exiting pits. David Forsyth exiting pits. David Kelsall exiting pits. David Forsyth in Village corner is P10, 1.4 behind Quinton Castleman. Richard Ogden in Luffield corner is 6th, 1.5 behind Brian Patterson. David Forsyth in Woodcote corner is 10th, 1.2 behind Quinton Castleman. David Forsyth was 1.8 faster last lap. Richard Ogden in Beckett's corner is 6th, 0.5 behind Brian Patterson. Brian Patterson in Hanger Straight is 6th battling Richard Ogden. Ian Weeks entering the pits is 4th. Brian Patterson passed Richard Ogden for P5. Richard Ogden is 6th. Best lap is a 2:46.335. 4.298 off the fastest lap. Martijn Mol exiting pits. David Forsyth in club corner is 10th, 1.2 behind Quinton Castleman. Hein van Niekerk exiting pits. 10 minutes remaining in the session. Neil Hancock exiting pits. David Forsyth is now P8. Mark Scott is P11. Ian Weeks exiting pits. Richard Ogden exiting pits. Mark Scott exiting pits. Richard Ogden in Village corner is 10th, 1.8 behind Ian Weeks. David Forsyth is P7. Best lap is a 2:44.016. 1.979 off the fastest lap. Mark Scott is 11th, 1.4 behind Richard Ogden. David Forsyth in Beckett's corner on lap 8 is P7, 1.2 behind Quinton Castleman. David Forsyth was 0.5 faster last lap. Mark Scott in Chapel corner on lap 8 is 11th, 1.1 behind Richard Ogden. David Forsyth in club corner is 7th, 1.8 behind Quinton Castleman. Mark Scott in international pit straight is P11, 0.8 behind Richard Ogden. David Forsyth in Wellington Straight is 7th. Mark Scott from Norway in Wellington Straight is 11th, 0.4 behind Richard Ogden. David Forsyth in Copse Corner is 7th, 1.5 behind Quinton Castleman. Mark Scott is P11, 1.0 behind Richard Ogden. Five minutes remaining in the session. David Forsyth from Ireland in Stowe Corner is 7th, 1.1 behind Quinton Castleman. Mark Scott from Norway is P11, 1.1 behind Richard Ogden. Rene Robertson is P4, 1.4 ahead of Neil Hancock. Neil Hancock was 0.6 faster last lap. Neil Hancock in Brooklands Corner is P5, 0.9 behind Rene Robertson. Rene Robertson in Woodcote Corner is P4, 0.2 behind Brian Patterson. Rene Robertson was 3.8 faster last lap. Neil Hancock in Copse Corner is P5, 0.3 behind Rene Robertson. Brian Patterson in Magot's Corner is 4th. Best lap is a 2:46.473. 6.064 off the fastest lap. Neil Hancock in Chapel Corner is 5th battling Brian Patterson. Neil Hancock passed Brian Patterson for P4. Brian Patterson is P5, 0.2 behind Neil Hancock. Neil Hancock in Club Corner is P4, 0.6 behind Rene Robertson. David Forsyth in international pit straight on lap 11 is P7, 0.5 behind Quinton Castleman. Neil Hancock is P4, 0.3 behind Rene Robertson. Neil Hancock was 0.9 faster last lap. David Forsyth in Wellington Straight is P7, 0.8 behind Quinton Castleman. David Forsyth was 1.7 faster last lap. Neil Hancock in Woodcote Corner is P4, 0.1 behind Rene Robertson. David Forsyth is 7th, 0.7 behind Quinton Castleman. Neil Hancock in Beckett's Corner is 4th, 0.2 behind Rene Robertson. Rene Robertson is P4 battling Neil Hancock. Rene Robertson passed Neil Hancock for P3. Neil Hancock in Vale is 4th. Best lap is a 2:42.565. 2.156 off the fastest lap. Rene Robertson in Club Corner is P4, 0.1 behind Neil Hancock. Neil Hancock in Farm Curve is P4. Rene Robertson in the Loop is P4. Best lap is a 2:43.432. 3.023 off the fastest lap. Mark Scott in Village Corner is P11, 1.5 behind Richard Ogden. Rene Robertson in Woodcote Corner is 4th, 1.1 behind Neil Hancock. Neil Hancock was 0.7 faster last lap. Quinton Castleman on lap 12 is P6, 1.7 behind Brian Patterson. The leader has just finished the race. Martijn Mol finished first. Hein van Niekerk finished second. Neil Hancock finished P3. Rene Robertson finished 4th. Quinton Castleman passed Brian Patterson for P5. Quinton Castleman finished 5th. Brian Patterson finished 6th. David Forsyth finished 7th. David Kelsall finished P8. Ian Weeks finished P9. Richard Ogden finished P10. Mark Scott finished 11th. John Astrop is 12th.